Welcome back to the deep dive. We are taking that shovel to your source material again, digging past all the noise.
And hopefully pulling out the knowledge you actually need.
Exactly. Today, we're setting our sights on California. But maybe not the parts you'd expect. We're deliberately bypassing, the usual suspects, L.A., the Bay Area.
That's right. We're looking at Sacramento, the state capital.
Yeah.
It's a city that, well, it often gets overlooked in the big cannabis conversation, doesn't it?
Totally.
But our sources today are pushing a really interesting, I'd say almost revolutionary thesis that California's capital has, and I'm quoting here, quietly built one of the deepest, most influential brand rosters in the world.
Okay, quietly feels like the key word there. Because, the media spotlight hits L.A., it hits the Bay. But Sacramento's just been building methodically.
Building a whole ecosystem, completely verticalized. The sources point to this legendary roster. It spans everything from Prop 215 legends to modern Olympics winners.
Right, Prop 215, that's the old school, the medical foundation.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about the craftspeople who were there from the start under the original medical law. Decades of experience.
And Olympics. That's the newer, high-end competition scene.
Super high profile, yeah. Known for really tough judging. So the fact that Sacramento brands, bridge both of those eras, that's pretty significant.
So our mission today, let's dig into this lineup. The brands, the infrastructure, the community, everything. We need to figure out how Sacramento actually earned this title, this quiet cannabis capital, how they set trends without chasing the headlines.
Exactly. It's about showing that deep institutional strength, not just, flash-in-the-pan success.
Okay, let's get into it. The sources lay out this, honestly, staggering list of brands from the region. I mean, we can't possibly read every single name.
No way.
But the sheer density of talent, that's what really backs up the whole idea. Let's start with the real heavy hitters.
Right. So if you look at the list of Sacramento cannabis brands and cultivators, the story really starts with scale and influence. You've got these foundational companies that have, frankly, achieved global recognition, like the Connected CA.
Huge.
And Alien Labs.
Connected CA, they're massive. They almost define that modern, high-end, exotic flower market.
Why Sacramento, though? Why did they bloom there instead of, say, SoCal?
Well, part of it goes back to the infrastructure. And maybe the relative ease early on of setting up large-scale, really controlled cultivation environments in the capital region compared to elsewhere.
Oh, right.
Connected success is also tied to their vertical integration. They controlled everything, seed to sale, quality control. They're often used as a benchmark for high-volume, high-quality stuff statewide.
And Alien Labs, listed right alongside them, their reputation, that's built more on specific genetics, right? They're like household names for connoisseurs. Precisely. Alien Labs really shows that dedication in the area to hunting down and stabilizing unique, super high-value genetics. Then you've got other pillars like Seven Leaves, which is all about reliability, consistency at scale, and Sinan, too.
And the list keeps going. Lumpy's Flowers, Blueprint.
Yeah.
It just reinforces this idea that Sacramento isn't just a place selling flower, it's where actual industry leaders are made.
And if you look past those top names, the depth just gets, it confirms the whole hypothesis, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sources also call out really respected names like Preferred Gardens, Doja Pack, Green Dawg, Turtle Pie, Pure Beauty.
Wow, that's quite a range.
It shows real market maturity. You've got everything from the super exotic boutique stuff to brands focused more on accessibility or like unique aesthetics. It's not just one type of grow. It's a really diversified portfolio.
Okay, so that's the output side, the flower itself. But you can't have world-class flower without world-class inputs.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us naturally to the foundations, right?
Yeah.
The genetics, the nurseries.
Correct. For a region to be truly influential in cannabis, it has to be creating the future, not just growing what someone else bred.
Makes sense.
And Sacramento is a major hub for that specialized growth. Think entities like Symbiotic or Symbiotic Genetics and Conception Nurseries.
So Sacramento isn't just buying seeds or clones from elsewhere. They are actually one of the sources for the genetic lines defining modern California cannabis. That's powerful long-term leverage.
It implies a level of control over the supply chain way beyond just retail. It stabilizes the whole regional market because you've got this constant pipeline of proven, desirable strains coming through.
That structural maturity, you see it in the next part of the market too. Specialization, okay, you've got the best flower, but a mature scene needs more. It needs mastery over extracts, processing, going beyond just the jar of buds.
Absolutely. The ability to produce sophisticated concentrates, that shows real technical skill, high-level processing infrastructure, and Sacramento has a really strong presence there. Concentrates, carts, rosin.
Yeah, looking at the dedicated extracts brands, you immediately see Friendly brand, Paper Plains extracts. Those are staples. You see them everywhere in California.
Right. Which confirms Sacramento's influence stretches way beyond just the 916 area code.
Definitely.
And this is where you see that high craft element really kick in. The source material points out specialized, solventless producers, rosin brands like Jong rosin and Masterball Melts.
Solventless, that's top tier.
Yeah.
Requires amazing flour to start with and serious skill.
Tremendous quality inputs, highly refined technique. Having them there shows the local market both demands and supplies the absolute highest end, most technical products.
But making all that, it takes more than just good extractors, right?
Right.
You need the science, the processing facilities behind it.
Yes. And naming natural life science and genetics synergy confirms that Sacramento isn't just boutique craft, it's also got that high-tech industrial processing capability. These places provide the scaling, the testing, the services that let the big guys, the connected CAs and alien labs, keep up their massive volumes consistently.
So you've got the industrial base, the high craft solvent list, the famous flour. But every influential region, it has to respect its roots, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We should talk about the legacy market.
Oh, the legacy market is absolutely the backbone of Sacramento's cannabis culture. These are the names, the people who refine the techniques, who set the community standards way before legalization. You have to recognize the history, the impact of names like Space Monkey Meds, Four Thumb, Exotics 916, only pushing pressure.
These are the folks connecting today's legal market back to decades of that hands-on knowledge. It feels like it's the blend, that deep traditional expertise mixed with the modern tech we just talked about, that makes the Sacramento scene so solid.
And that focus on craft, it shows up in some really unique ways. Our sources highlight this subculture that seems hyper-specific to Sacramento, the unique hand roll scene.
Okay, this is where it gets fascinatingly detailed. Master rollers, like Blaine, like Mike, Jake Rolos. It sounds like its own art form with local celebrities.
It really speaks volumes about the value they place on local craft, almost an anti-mass production vibe. And Marco Surita's title, CGO, connoisseur grade only.
CGO.
CGO, yeah. That's not just marketing fluff. It feels like a cultural statement. This community prioritizes the absolute highest standard of preparation, of consumption. It shows that Sacramento consumers, they don't just put up with mass-produced pre-rolls, they actually demand this high-touch, artisanal experience.
That focus on process, not just volume.
Yeah.
That feels like a hallmark of a really mature, confident market.
Okay.
We've established this phenomenal depth. Producers, processors, legacy craftspeople, it's all there. But for a scene like this to last, to be sustainable, it needs a solid infrastructure supporting it all. Let's shift to that framework.
Yeah, the strength of Sacramento as a capital city really comes into play here, stability. And that's rooted in its retail, its accessories, its media, and critically, its infrastructure.
Starting with retail. The sources talk about the major Sacramento dispensaries, calling them the Core Five. Why is identifying this core group important?
Because having a stable Core 5 COLAs, Symbiotic Sacramento, a therapeutic alternative, Embark Supply, and Perfect Union, it guarantees that the local growers have reliable, high-volume places to sell.
Ah, right. Consistent outlets.
They act like anchor tenants, they keep the money flowing locally, and they give consumers steady access to all those local brands we just listed.
It keeps the scene from being too dependent on outside market whims. And then the ecosystem around them, the accessories, the media, that helps amplify the local vibe.
Exactly. You see supporting industries pop up like Rektipz for tips and accessories, Sluggers doing infused pre-rolls, and even a media platform like Sturt Doinks. These kinds of things, they define and spread the regional culture, the aesthetic. It's like the market's cultural voice.
But when we talk about real institutional depth, the stuff that genuinely stabilizes a regulated market, it comes down to that critical non-plant touching infrastructure, doesn't it?
Yep.
This feels like what truly sets Sacramento apart from just being another place with good growers.
This is where being the capital with its central location and, frankly, stability really pays off. You have to have rigorous, trusted science backing things up. The presence of Green Leaf Lab, really well-respected testing facility right there. That's foundational.
Absolutely essential for regulatory confidence.
And quality assurance, especially for the big operations.
Okay, that handles the regulatory side. What about community validation? cultural institutions.
That's where things like awards and events fit in. The Calcano Awards being based there, and the fact that High Times Magazine held its Central Valley Cup there back in 2018. Hosting major events like that, it establishes Sacramento not just as a place to buy cannabis, but as a cultural authority within the state. It's like saying, we set the standard here.
And the innovation keeps going, even into the grow tech itself, like mentioning found lighting. It seems like literally every single piece of the supply chain, genetics, extraction, sales, regulation, even lighting tech is not just present, it's often being pioneered locally.
That is pretty much the definition of a self-sufficient ecosystem. And then tying it all together is that community element, like the Connect community. This whole structure, from the genetic building blocks to the testing labs to the major retail outlets, it just confirms Sacramento isn't just a hub. It's a complete institutionalized cannabis capital, just operating quietly under the radar.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean? We started by asking why Sacramento gets this quiet cannabis capital title, why it's often overshadowed by LA and the Bay. And the answer, based on our sources, seems pretty clear. Sacramento's influence, it's built on operational excellence, deep institutional roots, and just the sheer density of talent, both legacy and modern.
Yeah, its influence built on foundations and inputs, not just the flashy output that gets attention day to day. Its depth, its ability to handle basically every step of the process right there in the capital region, from creating genetics like Symbiotic to processing with Natural Life to selling through that Core 5 retail. That's exactly what makes it so enduringly influential. It doesn't need to generate viral moments every day.
Because it's generating the products.
It's generating the foundational products and the genetic lines that actually power a huge chunk of the state's market.
So its quietness isn't irrelevance. It's actually a sign of stability. Influence built on, density of real talent, not just celebrity hype.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to chew on. If a city's real cannabis influence isn't just measured by media hits or social media buzz, but by the actual depth of its institutional infrastructure and the sheer volume of genuinely influential brands it produces, both old school and new, what does Sacramento's incredibly deep roster tell us about where statewide market trends might be heading? Is the capital quietly setting a new standard? Maybe the operational standard for vertical integration and stability that the rest of California might need to follow.
That is definitely something to mull over next time you see one of those Sacramento brands on the shelf. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time.